Once you have the inlays all in place and pretty much sorted, it's time to sand them down or file them down flush with the fretboard. In this case, I'm quite lucky. The materials had a slight curve in it, and there's not that much to remove. Now, either you can use a leveling beam. This is one of the old ones actually. 180 grit paper on one side. That's 240 or 320 on the other, and that will, just go along and take the mother of pearl down to the right radius. Alternatively, if you've got a lot of material to remove, a fret leveling file or a fretboard leveling file, this is one of the new ones with the truss rod, will do just as well. So whatever takes your fancy, really. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on because I don't want to bow the neck backwards in any way. I still want this all to stay nice and flat. And I'm going to need to recheck my radiuses in a second as well. Sandpaper cleaner, so rubber that takes rubbish away. Bench cookies, these things are great. So check the radius with our radius gauges. This is an old prototype set from ages ago. Now I'm getting the radius right. And I'm going a little bit slower and a little bit more carefully. And then in the end, on the other side of the sanding block, I've got fine paper. Although, it has just come to me that I still haven't filled any gaps. So I'm just jumping ahead of myself, really, a little bit. Now, what we've got is any gaps are full of ebony dust right now, and we're just going to go and drop super glue in to solidify that. So some relatively thin super glue, and all I'm doing is flooding around the top of each of these inlays. Most of the time it's not required. If this was rosewood, I would be doing something completely different. Ebony superglue makes dust darker than it normally is. If it was a rosewood or a maple, I'd have to mix that maple dust or rosewood dust with PVA glue or something like that. But in this case, that's not necessary. Now I'm going to leave this to cure overnight and then get rid of the excess again with my trusty leveling beam. The glue has cured, so it's rather annoying. In this light you can't really see the fantastic changing of colours that I can see in this mother of pearl. Anyway, back to the sanding beams. Back on the course. And we're just taking away the excess. I still have quite a lot of sanding to do, and now that it's all nice and shiny, it's actually incredibly hard to focus on. But the inlays are in. You can't see any gaps. That's the joy of ebony, really. But in the end, whatever wood you're using, it is relatively straightforward to get a good quality inlay. As I said earlier, about 4 days ago now, asymmetrical, non-standard, non-geometric inlays are easier to do because you can recover from them easier. However, a geometric pattern, squares, etc., with a little bit of practice, it is possible. I would seriously recommend you play around, experiment, do a little bit of marquetry maybe. Inlay is when you put something into your project. Marquetry is when you put a jigsaw on top of your project. So, marquetry, you cover the entire surface in a jigsaw of tends to be veneer. And that's a good place to start practicing, really. And practice is important. And check out our other videos and Crimson Guitars. Crimson Guitars, check out our store. We make a full range of guitar building tools and jigs and templates and plans and inlay saws and blades and inlay chisels. So yeah, crimsonguitars.com/shop. That's half of my life is building, designing tools, and the other half is building and designing guitars. So quite frankly, I love it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.